On his trip to China today, the Premier Ted Baillieu spoke glowingly about foreign investment in Victoria. But back home, farmers are concerned about the growth of foreign investment in agricultural land, and they're calling for more transparency. Stephanie March reports from the Western District.
These lush green pastures in Western Victoria are some of Australia's best farmland. After 10 years of drought, the country's agricultural industries have sprung back to life, with high production levels and record exports forecast for the next 12 months. But there's now growing concern that Australia is being fleeced of its farming assets.
We're really losing our sovereignty over our land because other countries will own vast tracts of it.
It'll only get bigger. This is only the start of it, I think, really. I don't think we've seen anything yet.
Kevin Stark has been in farming all his working life. From his property at Casterton near the Victorian and South Australian border, he's been watching the land around him being bought up by foreign investors. The property next door was recently bought by a US company, and to the north, a subsidiary of Qatari government-owned Hassad Food last year purchased Caladbro Estate, a 2,630-hectare sheep station, for a reported $25 million.
We've got no problem with the local foreign owners of the land. We get on well with the staff and they run it well, and there's no problems there. I think this is it's developing into a bigger issue than that.
That issue is about who is buying. Middle Eastern and Asian government enterprises are increasingly investing in farmland.
If there is a food shortage or is a crisis for food or something in the world in time to come, you know, that food will just go straight back to the country that owns the land.
Western District farmer Peter Small says there's huge potential for a food crisis if foreign land sales continue unregulated.
I think the city people in Australia have always had cheap food, and they always think that they will have cheap food, and they don't realise that the world population is exploding.
As managed investment schemes have collapsed in recent years, hundreds of thousands of hectares of farmland has come on the market. Large swathes of land in Western Victoria, near Kevin Stark's property, were bought by a Canadian superannuation fund from the administrators of failed plantation timber operator Great Southern.
We couldn't go and buy the whole lot, but we would have been interested in paddocks, and we didn't get an opportunity. The receivers wouldn't let us come in. We were disappointed with that. It's gone to a foreign owner.
Whilst I understand that there may be some anxiety as some Middle Eastern sheik buying up a farm in the Western District, the truth of the matter is Australian farms export 60% of the food we grow, which generates 75% of the wealth we gain from agriculture.
Farmers' concerns have prompted a Senate inquiry to examine the level of foreign investment in Australian agriculture and assess our country's food security. Food security is a major issue for many governments. The Qatar government's Hassad Food states on its website that one of its focuses is achieving food security for Qatar. It's spent hundreds of millions of dollars on agricultural investments across the globe. Rural real estate agents say foreign investors like Hassad Food are often prepared to pay above the market price for Australian land. For some farmers, those offers are too good to refuse.
The reality is that it was a deal that was enticing to us.
Hassad Food recently bought another 5 properties in Western Victoria. One of them was owned by Tom Silcock.
We had an opportunity that we thought was a good offer, and so we took the opportunity.
Tom Silcock signed a confidentiality agreement with the company and can't reveal specific details of the sale, but he believes the community will benefit from the deal.
I think you're going to have permanent families based there, which most of the properties involved had absentee landlords or non-active people living on the properties. So I think the community will benefit from having a more solid population living in the community.
And he's not the only one that sees benefits from large-scale foreign investment.
Who misses out? They're still employing Australian farmers, the land that they bought from Australian farmers, that Australian farmers sold to them, that money's being invested back in Australia. They're using Australian fertiliser, Australian seed, Australian chemicals, Australian contractors, Australian trucks. They're taking them down to Australian-owned and managed wharves.
The Foreign Investment Review Board is currently required to approve all investments by foreign governments, but only investments worth more than $231 million by non-government foreign investors are examined. Peter Small and Kevin Stark are among a growing number of farmers who want the government to set up a foreign landowners registry and lower the $231 million threshold.
You don't have to be very bright. You can split lots and split farms. You can buy anything you want to stay under the 231 million, but I think it's got to be much lower.
While there's already concern in rural communities about foreign investment in agriculture, the National Farmers Federation is waiting on 2 more government reports due later this year. They'll paint a clearer picture on who's buying Australian farming land, why they're buying it, and whether or not that poses a threat to the country's food security. The government too is waiting on those reports and is considering a foreign landowners register.
We've got to balance the importance of Australia being a trading nation with this sense of security, national security and control over our own food. And that is why I do think we need to have a lot more transparency in the transactions.
Farmers say a long-term plan for the future of Australia's agricultural sector is well overdue.
What Australia needs to do is have a long-term plan and strategy of where they see agriculture in Australia in the future.
It's a plan the government says it's working on, but not fast enough for some farmers.
I think at this stage it's reasonable to say that we're not in a crisis.
Now's the time to act before the horse has bolted.